And do you feel these people will come in as consultants, or do you feel that they will be paid members of staff under you?
They won't be paid by me. It will be down to the individual communities themselves to identify who they want to be their representative to influence the Commission. And I say, find the brightest, the best, the most argumentative person you can find and come in the room and make your case. Because that's basically what it's about. At the moment, those people have got nobody to speak for them. And they complain and say, nobody listens to what we want. Our area is going down, this isn't happening, we want this, and that's happening instead. This way, you will have somebody that comes in and speaks for you. For instance, the Victims Commissioner. I've made a commitment in my manifesto that victims must come first. Their considerations must come first. At the moment, they are third on the list, victims. They come behind the needs of the system and then the rights of the offender. And then the victim comes away down the line. And they rely on charity and other outlets to support them. I've said that's got to change. We're in the 21st century, the victims' needs have got to come first, and that means looking at ways in which we can find it easier for them to give evidence, looking at ways of protecting them, reassuring them, looking at ways in which they feel troubled about what they're doing and easing that. And having somebody who is a trained professional, paid for by victim support, and given the authority of the title of Assistant Commissioner means that you have somebody in there who can actually persuade and influence and have an effect on the way in which victims are treated. And I see that replicated in the other areas as well.
This election is likely to be one of the lowest turnouts we've seen for an election for quite some time. Sadly, that's just the way it is. But what is the strongest possible argument you can give to the electorate of Salford to vote for you?
Well, I hope people will come out and vote, and I hope people will take the trouble to actually look at what all of the candidates are promising to do and to weigh it up and to decide who they think is the best person for the job. It is important because if you don't vote for this and it falls by the wayside, we will go back to a system where non-elected people will take charge of policing, take charge of the policing budget, and they will return to what they were doing before. And you won't have a say. You will have no influence over that at all, because it will be a quango who decide that the police are going to focus on this and not on that, or we're going to take money from this budget and put it over to that budget, or we're going to buy more artwork or more pot plants, or we're going to have more knees up in five-star hotels, and you won't have any say over it. So I say to people, if you want to have a say in how your area is policed, then support this, because it may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and if it dies off, it'll never come back again. And you will end up then with an elite bureaucratic organisation running your police into the 21st century, and you won't have any say whatsoever. And I think that's not the way forward. The way forward is for local people to have more democratic influence on how their police is run, and to be able to say in a very loud voice, I'm not happy with this has got to change, you shouldn't be doing that, and know that they'll be heard. I think it's important that whoever is the Commissioner needs to be out in the communities, and that's whether it's the town centres or in the villages. You need to be listening to people. I was a great admirer of the style of Mike Todd, who was my Chief Constable just before I retired, who made a point of getting out on the streets and working with local officers and being hands-on as a Chief Constable. Now, he had enormous responsibilities, still managed to run his force, but by organising the way in which he worked, he was still able to get out and listen to people. And I see the role, if I was doing it, as being broadly similar, of being out as often as possible. I also think we live in a social media age. I'm a great admirer of a mayor in New Jersey in the United States called Cory Booker, who is constantly on Twitter and constantly speaking to people all day through the day. And it's well worth looking up his Twitter feed. I'll give you, for instance, a couple of years ago, somebody tweeted him to say, there's been a snowfall, it's a foot deep, my dad's got a bad heart and he's threatening to clear his driveway of snow and I'm afraid he'll have a heart attack. Is there anybody in the local council that could come round and clear the drive? And Booker tweeted back to say, give me your address, I'm out and about, I've got a shovel in my boot, I'll be there in 45 minutes. When he arrived at that house, there were already 200 people there who turned up and had not only cleared this man's drive, they cleared the street. Now, I think that if you're in contact with your public and letting them know what you're doing throughout the day, all day, and where you're at and where you're coming from, you will start to get more support from people who know what you're doing, and you'll feedback from them what's going wrong. and I see no problem with contacting people like that. It's a system that's available, why not? I intend to have a website. I've made a point of saying I will respond to anybody, and everybody who's been sending me emails during this campaign, I've made a point of setting time aside to respond to them with my own views. And I've still got a backlog that I'm trying to get through, because obviously I'm hitting 200 a day now, but I do make a point of responding. I will never ignore a letter or an email from somebody, because I know that goes on, and I know the police authority were guilty of a lot of it, because people have been emailing me saying they've been trying for years to make a point and not even had a response or an acknowledgement to say they got a letter. Well, that's bad manners in my book. I wasn't brought up like that. You will hear from me. You might not like the answer I give you, but you'll get a response from me, and if you think I'm wrong, come back at me. Because that's how things get aired, and that's how problems get solved, is by communicating with each other. Not me saying, I'm right, you're wrong, but I'm saying, I think I'm right, you prove to me that I'm not. So yes, that's how I intend to work with people. And if people persuade me things are not right, or things have been going badly wrong, then I'm 2 sets of ears away from the Chief Constable and the senior officers in the police, and I can say, this is what I'm getting from the people. They are telling me this isn't right. What are we going to do about it? And that's how it should work.